Finally, the long wait is over with all these delays. I can't wait to play this game. What the fuck is going on? Well, I wasn't expecting that. I've got to say, before starting this review, I couldn't play the PC version properly at launch because of all the random crashes that I kept on getting. It was like I got a crash every 30 to 40 minutes in game, and the frame rate was all over the place, to the point after my 20th crash, I just gave up. Where this game pissed me off with all these crashes, and at one time I got the blue screen of sad face on my computer that it was forced to restart. At that point I was like, alright, I'll play it once when it gets more stable. So I waited for a couple of updates to come out, and at the point when I returned to it, it's now patch 1.6, and now the game seems to be more stable. I'm not saying that everyone out there got my experience of all them crashes when it was released, yet this update I started to enjoy the game because I could play the game. And underneath it all, with the bugs aside, there is a good game here. Cyberpunk 2077 is set in a futuristic society where business empires rule the world. Cyberpunk 2077 is a hard game to category because at the beginning of the year they were saying it was an RPG, and they've been saying that as long as I can remember about this game. But only recently, in the last 6 months or so, they changed that to an action-adventure game, and after playing this, to me this feels like more of a first-person looter shooter with RPG elements added into the mix. For the story, in short, you're a mercenary in Night City who's called V, who accepts a heist job to rob this guy of his biochip, when things go horribly wrong in the heist and unseen circumstances, and V ends up putting the biochip in their head to preserve it, where the case of it got damaged. And then you get betrayed with a bullet in your head, and because where you are unconscious from that, the biochip reads you as a blank slate and starts rewriting V's personality with Johnny Silverhand's one, what was on the chip. Except V can't simply remove the chip because it's also keeping V alive from that bullet what you took earlier on in the game. So you're in a race against time to sort out this biochip before it completely rewrites V. Play a character called V, what you can customise to your liking, and the character customisation is acceptable. I was impressed with how many hairstyles that they have in the menu, and you can do a lot with this character menu. However, if you're someone who plays RPGs a lot, this menu system is basic. You can't make your character taller, shorter, wider. It's pretty much just a base area, unless you're talking about the character's titties or ding dong. I've never seen that before in the character customization menu. It's full nudity. This game is not shy about that, and you know that you're getting into a mature game because of it. Did anyone else apart from me just burst out laughing when you customise your character and then it zooms out and you seem completely stuck? Because I just couldn't stop laughing at that point that my ribcage was hurting. I like how you can see your hands and your body and your legs, and then you're not floating on this like spot. You can just see your legs there. And kept on thinking, this would look really good in VR. You play as Johnny Silverhand throughout certain parts of the campaign, what tells a bit more on the story, especially with how much went on through the past. I like how it made me feel that the world was there before my character was created and put into this world, as you switch between Johnny and V. For the controls, I think it's a bit weird, but not in the way that you might think. It's like little things what make me think, why can't I change that? It's like using the keyboard and mouse, why is the interactive key an F? Usually it's the E key to interact with things. I really don't get that, so I kept on hitting the E key by instinct and wondering what the fuck is going on when it's F to interact. It's something small like that. That kept on throwing me off. And that too. Nevertheless, for the most of the part of the game, I was using a controller than a keyboard. The shooting can feel a bit weird at first. It took me a little bit of time to adjust to it. Yet once when I did, I was off on my way. But the driving, oh, the driving to me feels a bit delayed is the best way I could describe it. Mainly I noticed this with the steering, while other players compared it to driving on ice or a bit floaty, and that's why there's already a mod to sort this out, and I've got to say to that mod author, thank you for that. Except everything else from the movement to the camera, I've got no complaints apart from they mapped the dodge button to the crouch key that you just got to hit it twice to dodge. I found myself going into the crouch when I wanted it to dodge, and in the end I end up mapping the dodge to a different button. But this is more of my problem. I'd really like to know if anyone else experienced this as I did. There are 3 different background stories for you to choose from: Corporal, Nomad and Street Kid, and each one has their own intro to the game what I like. Although I was a little bit let down with the Corporal one, where that one seemed to be the most interesting for me, considering that this is a world owned by companies. And this origin story seemed to be the most shortest one out of the 3, where you go and meet the boss, get the job, and then go and meet Jackie. Like the flying car park, by the way, while you're going to meet Jackie, and the other corporals in your company know that your boss has asked you to do something, and in short, they fire your ass. To me, this felt like a massive missed opportunity, because it could have introduced more of the corruption in Night City with these corporations where they fight each other. Then we get to the Nomad, where I like large group of people from moving from place to place across the US in their vehicles, and to a Nomad, their vehicles are kind of like their identity. They're very attached to their vehicles, so when you start off in the Nomad lifestyle, you find that usually Nomads travel in groups, while this sheriff is trying to probe you for information about you and your clan, and you find out that you left your Nomad family for some reason to go to Night City. And then you meet a guy called Jackie, the same Jackie to be transporting a mystery box across the border into Night City, and of course it goes arse upwards. And you end up in a good car chase, and I thought that it was funny when you realised what you were transporting across the border, and I was hoping that I'd get to keep it, yet it just wasn't meant to be. And then there's a Street Kid where you seem to always be in a fight, and in short you accept a job to steal a car, a high priced car by the way, and it goes tips up. Anyway, in all 3 backstories, you and Jackie go into business together as a mercenary group. And then we get to this montage cutscene of you and Jackie over the past 6 months of what they've been up to. And to me, this was a bit of a letdown because I thought that I was going to be playing this part and then just watching it. It felt like the gameplay of this part was cut for this montage. Each life path has their own unique dialogue to them. Regardless though of what life path you choose, most of the quests play out the same, which was a bit of a disappointment for me. I wanted to go back and change life paths and see what it was like. Yeah, I don't think that I'm going to bother now, where I found out it just changes the dialogue and really nothing else. There is decisions and dialogue in this, but it's linear on how it plays out. Most players out there will end up with the same outcome, just with minor tweaks to them. The last chapter, however, that's when you will make your decision on what will change the ending. Best way I can describe it is a bit like Fallout 4 in the last chapter. That's when it will divide, and the only bit where your choice really has any weight to it. And the game allows you to go back to the elevator checkpoint so you can experience the different endings, what kind of makes the decision making feel cheap. I just wanted to go back and change things up. But considering that everything is going to have a similar outcome to it, I just don't see myself starting a second playthrough anytime soon. There was quite a few times that I went back in my save to see how much I could change the outcome on certain missions, and I was very disappointed in it, where everything ended up roughly the same, apart from when you were getting that robotic dog and you meet that businesswoman at the start of the game near enough. That really, I like that part. That had multiple outcomes to it. Did it end up in a shitstorm of gunfiring, or did you just walk out the building?
Bet you didn't expect to see me here. You know, I like the way you operate. Maybe you'd do some more work for us.
Dealing with Maelstrom, huh? Never ends well, does it? Looks like you two lucked out a bit.
You do get attribute point signs in dialogue, however I felt like they didn't add much to the game. Most of the time the other characters like acknowledge it or be surprised by it. Yeah, that's really it. It didn't change anything. You just might get some interesting dialogue out of it, if you're lucky. I also found it a bit frustrating that they mapped the crouch button to the skip dialogue button. You can easily press not to crouch and it skips the dialogue when I didn't want it to. For the main missions, I thought that they were well thought out, and I liked how it all starts off with that heist and how it advances the story. And the ones that suck out the most for me is when there's a parade going on and you're using all the catwalks and going through the buildings. I like that. It showed me how lively Night City can be. Some of the side missions are really out there in their storytelling, like when you find out what's going on with this person who's running for mayor and the subliminal messages and getting underneath all that and finding out what's going on. It's like, fuck! And the AI taxi services, I thought it was going to be like, go here, destroy that taxi, that rogue AI, destroy that, come back. But it's not like that. Each AI taxi has their own personality, and you have to talk some in from not going overboard into the river, and it's like, oh, this is actually quite interesting and really raises the concern on AI a bit here. And the list goes on to being in a gig and seeing the audience that you're playing for, even though you're not really playing, but it's like, yeah, I can do this. Like, I love the side missions. To me, the side missions steal the show, especially when you're swimming underwater with Judy and seeing that submerged town. And yes, these are side missions. I loved a lot of the side missions in this. And this is where the game shines the most for me. It was never a dull moment in these side missions. And then we get to the gig missions with Regina Jones. Some of them are good, yet I found myself getting bored with these missions where this is more of a mercenary route job. And then we get to the Cyber Psychos, what often have good loot on them, except taking them down is another story. 1 minute you can be fighting a tank like one, and the next one can be running in sonic speed, zipping across the area. I like that it always had something new for me to fight. There is one thing that I majorly dislike, is the NCPD clear out zones. Basically this is a nice way to say clear out bandit camps. And these are littered throughout Night City. The first few times I did them and I was like, alright, but I grew tired of them very fast. And these type of missions are like miscellaneous quests alongside to get an item and post it through a vending machine. And it seems like some of these respawn later on down the line. I mainly noticed this with the NCPD clear out zones where I was like, I swear blind I've done this before. There is a hacking system and it does work. The best way I can describe it is like a crossword like hack with numbers. Is this something that you're going to like or not? And for me, I tried it for a bit. I'm hacking a lot of stuff to see what I could do with it, and then it just became repetitive for me, where it did not add anything new, and became very old very fast, and the more and more that I hacked throughout the game, the more and more I couldn't be bothered with this minigame. I know some players out there who like this minigame, so it all comes down to your preference, but there is also a breaching hacking as well, where it hacks for you, and you've got these pinpoint honks, whatever that is, and you can do some cool stuff with it. If you're playing as a netrunner, like turning off cameras, causing damage to the enemy by short-circuiting them, and so on. However, I was not really playing as a netrunner. I might do when I go back to it later on. Bullshit, he was being like a samurai netrunner. Alright, enough already, it's time to get back to the review. You know that this review's gone to shit when I have to be the sensible one. This shit is still going on! But my build was more with swords than anything, and that's the way that I chose to play it. And that's what this game does really well, is find your play style from a melee build to a gunslinger. It's your choice, and that's what I liked about it. Now I've got to say that the checkpoint system sucks on anything but the main missions. I remember starting the side mission, got to the part where this guy wants to kill this prisoner, and I died. Did it send me back to the part where it stopped the car? Nope. Did it send me back to the start of the mission? No. Did it send me all the way back to where I was driving to that mission? Yes! I couldn't believe that. I sent me all the way back there before I even started the quest. So I've got to drive all that way again. And this is not the only time that I found this out. It's on anything other than the main mission. So if you're doing a side mission, activity or gig, save regularly, it will save you a lot of swearing. There is a brain dance editing mode where you investigate a scene of someone's memory, and I like that this is a sort of a detective mode where you have sounds, normal vision, heat vision to get clues on this with what plays. I thought that these were a nice touch to the game, although these are often scripted events throughout the game, including the side missions. Right, you ready for your first brain dance? Yeah, I can't wait to try this thing out. Come on, let's go. Yeah, what do you think of it? It's really good, ain't it? You're a sick fuck! Oh, this is my hub account one. I found the inventory system alright to navigate, but it can be a cluttered mess at times with all the items that you can pick up and find. I found myself not getting used to this until I was around about the 5-hour mark in game. You can find and purchase weapons through vendors, yet purchasing weapons felt redundant to me, where you can find a lot of weapons by looting corpses. There is so much of it, in fact, that I was constantly swapping weapons regularly in my inventory for better stats. And that's including the clothing too. But if you want the best armour, be prepared to look like a complete utter dolt. And I'll be honest here, I was laughing a couple of times by what my character was wearing. Just to get the better stats. If you're after a certain type of style, it's just not going to happen unless you're after weak stats. I found myself checking the inventory to see if there's any green arrows on one of the items that I picked up. There is a shit ton of loot that I found myself constantly checking my inventory to see if I had any better weapons or armour to put on. I found that my inventory system kept on getting full very fast, and most of the time I was selling everything apart from epic gear. You can get mods for your weapons and clothing, and there are some cool mods to be had, like changing the scope on your gun is one of them. I like the leveling up system. There's a lot of choice to build the character what you want with these skill points, what you can put into like body and cool and technician and so on. And you get these skill points as well to pick a perk of your choice, and there is a bit of choice to be had here with each point tree has 3 different branches to them. I found this to be a bit overwhelming at first until I got used to it. The perk points, some of them are questionable. What I think are cut contents, like hold a human as a shield, give the human shield a bit more health, and it shows you holding the person as a shield and firing your gun. To my knowledge, B can't fire a gun while holding the person. It doesn't give you that option, so I think that this is cut content of gameplay. I think they forgot to get rid of that perk point, and then we got this other bar at the bottom left hand.
What also gives you perk points as well, in this case.
If you're an athletic build, you might want to keep on running around to level that up and so on. And then we got the street cred, what opens up more jobs as you level up, I think. But really I noticed this with body modifications. You need to be a certain level of street cred to unlock new body modifications for you to buy. There are body modifications that you can purchase at a fixer store, and I found myself trying a lot of them out, like the Mantis Blade Arms. Of course I had to try that one out after the trailer, and the double jump, and you can switch these around and they won't cost you anything as long as you have purchased them before. And you're bound to have your favourite one. I like the body modifications, they added more to the game. However, if you're hoping for an appearance change on your character, you could be a bit let down, where it really only changes your arms. So if you're after something like a chrome skin and robotic legs and arms, you can't really do that. Even though it would have been really cool if you could do that. I don't know, maybe CD Projekt Red might add that later on down the line. As for the crafting, I tried it a couple of times and I figured out it just weren't for me. I did not like it, it's just the little things that it does.
It's like little things like keeping the cursor on the craft button and then keep pressing it over and over again to craft something. It's little things like that. It's the reason why I didn't get along with it.
I've got to say, I hate the way that you buy vehicles in this game. You've got to go into the menu, look at the text, then come back out, then go into the mission menu and select that car. It's like, ugh! It's unnecessary the way that you buy cars, and you've got to remember that car's name. Why has it got to be like that? Why can't I just select it in the text and say go buy button on the text and have it delivered? That would have been a lot simple, or just go and get it through the text. Buy now, that's it. That would have been completely fixed. Instead, I've got to jump through all these hoops just to buy a car. But on the plus side, now I've got to say, the cars do look cool. I thought the design of the cars were very inventive. Even the boring cars, they look good and interesting in this world. The minimap, I did not like it when I was in a car because it was way too zoomed in and I could easily miss the turn that I wanted to make in the car. And on the other hand, when you're in buildings, I did not mind it. So for me, the minimap is a hit and miss. It's just horrible when you're in a car. Now at this point, most of you have heard about the AI in this game. The police AI is completely broken, they spawn right behind you, and all you have to do to get rid of him is drive around the corner. I have never seen an open world police AI this bad before. And that was my experience, and I've seen some of these vids on YouTube where it's even worse. All the person is doing is turning around in a small area, and they're spawning right behind him. I'm sure they will fix this in due time. Until then, I'm just laughing at these videos. And the normal NPCs in Night City just feel lifeless to me, when most of them only come out with sentences, and usually that's just fuck off. And you can't really interact with vendors or like, oh yeah, I'll go and sit here and get a bite to eat. You can't do that unless it's scripted in a mission, and I've quickly realised that these are here just to look pretty, and most of them just seem to have barred me from their stall. And that's not all. The NPCs, what you see walking and driving around town, they act really weird. If you do something like fire your gun, they just run around in a circle or do duck and cover. I think they took that South Park episode too literal.
But what should you do if a volcano erupts near you or your family? So what will you do when you hear a volcano erupting? That's right. Duck and cover. Looks like you got the idea. Duck and cover. Thank you and goodbye.
And if you stand in traffic or park your car, you can create a massive traffic jam where the AI car seems to be on rails and the AIs just don't know how to drive around objects. And I've got to say here, this has been the standard since GTA 3, that the drivers know how to drive around objects. I don't know how this was overlooked. I never felt like Night City was too small. It seemed to be well crafted and compact. Night City just looks amazing at times with the neon glow. And there are beautiful environments when you're outside the city, what I could look at for some time. There are so many buildings in Night City and the depth of detail to them, especially where they're all cramped in together. I really like that. That's like, wow, it's a bit claustrophobic in some areas. Like, yeah, I could see a future city like this. And on the other hand, it can look fuck ugly, like if textures are still popping in. Mainly I notice this on handrails and there is some low textures around the city. But this is really cherry picking. The advertisements made me laugh at times, like when I was in a lift and sex sounds started to play. The advertisements were just laugh out loud moments for me. I did not expect them to go to this level in how they advertise dog food in this world. You can tell that the developers had a sense of humour on this and how companies will say and try anything to sell you their shit. I thought that was a smart message what sums up this world of corporations. And the advertisements are littered throughout Night City, what does add to the immersion of Night City. You can fast travel as well through these fast travel points to points as long as you discovered them. Yet, I've got to say, I like that this game has a lot of Easter eggs in it, especially one from other games. For the sounds, generally the weapon sounds are alright, but they're not mind-blowing, but once or twice I did notice audio fuzziness or little sounds that did not play, like opening up a car door. Or when a character talks and it goes into like walkie-talkie speak.
And the Raffins, what about them? Expecting any trouble?
Saul is. He's posted sentries all around the camp.
How is that not right?
He's wrong in continuing to fight the symptoms rather than the disease.
Don't miss life in Night City?
At times, perhaps. I miss the feeling of having a new beginning. Of freedom.
Or some characters will overtalk others, so I had two conversations going at once and it's hard to focus on which one I'm supposed to be focusing on because there's two conversations going at once. Each radio station has their own unique soundtrack to them and you're bound to have your favourite one, and the music in this is quite good and I would like to play the ones that I really like, but it's like, can I do that with YouTube? Will it flag or will it not? It's like, I better not, just in case. But yeah, the music in this is outstanding and really suits the game. As for the characters, I think they're all well done with well written and crafted personalities, and I thought Keanu Reeves, for the most, was well voice acted as well with playing Johnny Silverhand. And I think there is a bit of a divide here on his performance. I think it's going to be one of them things you're going to like it or you don't, and for me, I liked it for the most part. This game has some of the best voice acting that I've ever heard in a game. It's like you're actually talking to a real person a lot of the time, and especially with their body language, on how some of them will move their hands and others will tilt their head. It's just remarkable. I've never seen this type of detail to acting before in a game, and this is where the game shines, is the characters that you meet throughout the game. The characters what you meet throughout your journey are well detailed. You can see the expressions in their face and everything, and I really like how they pulled that off. But on the other hand, if you're talking about NPCs, it kind of goes the other way. But with the main characters, they just look really brilliant. There are romance options in this, and yes, there are sex scenes later on down the line, and you got to do their like side activities or missions to actually romance them. Well, the only romance option what I've got going on these days is my... Okay, moving on. For how long the game is, I clocked on 60 hours, so I definitely got my value out of it. Now I'll get to the ranty side of this review, is the bugs. At this point you probably have heard, there are so many bugs and glitches that there are too many for me to cover. The ones that I came across the most is the T-pose and the lighting issue.
Fuck!
Still go and visit him sometimes.
Nothing left to clap here.
We ain't watching it, we're fucking waiting!
For what?
Till they send us the scratch for a job well done! Smashed it up pretty fucking good, didn't we?
I've got to give it props here. The music on this level is quite good. Although there are some funny bugs out there, like when you're flying across the map and you're just like, what the fuck just happened here? And my character kept on going bald for some reason, and there are immersion breaking ones as well. At least for me, I did not get the game breaking ones. I just got really more of the funny ones. And CD Projekt Red seems to be rolling out these patches really fast, and I'll give the devs applause for that. But as most gamers have said, that this is a game that needs more time in the oven, and some may say that this was only for the PS4 and Xbox version, and this is where I disagree. Because there was a lot of beefy PC report users out there, even on YouTube, of how the RTX 3090 had trouble running this game at launch with all the unstable frame rates. So yeah, it has got better on the PC version now at the time when I was making this vid. But the game should have never launched like this, and I'm fed up of this ship it now and fix it later, what so many game companies do now. And this was the first game that I've ever pre-ordered since Mass Effect 3, because I thought that I could trust CD Projekt Red with this. Did I expect bugs in this game? Yes, no game is bug free now at release, yet to have the game broken on base consoles, and some will say that this is a next gen game. And I've got to say, where's the PS5 version and the Xbox Series X one? I really want to know. To my knowledge, that hasn't been released yet. And I'm not saying that this is a bad game. I'm saying that it should have never shipped in this condition. My advice here is wait 6 months or so for them to iron out all the bugs, because there is a good game behind all this mess. Ever since that 2018 gameplay footage, the game got me interested then, and when I got the game, it turns out the same thing has happened as I've seen in other games. Felt that so much has been dumbed down and rewritten and cut to meet that deadline, and if you're after a detailed list what has been cut from that 2018 demo, there's a lot of YouTubers out there that go fully into it, and it's a large list. I wanted to play that version. I wanted to see that fat man on a scooter and do rascal tipping and watch him shit himself. And yeah, I know there would have been tweaks here and there, but he took that away from me, and I was really looking forward to push that guy over. So in the end, I thought that Cyberpunk is a good game once when that patch 1.6 came out. Yeah, I don't see myself going back to this game anytime soon, where I can't really change on how the story plays out until that last chapter of the game. I think I'll wait a bit before attempting to go back because of all the technical issues that this game has. I don't know, maybe they could pull a No Man's Sky off with this, where this is an interesting world, and I would like to return to it at some point and review this game again in the future. If they do No Man's Sky situation. So have you played it? What do you think of Cyberpunk? Leave it in the comments below. Until next game, I'm glitching off. So I consider myself lucky, except I have heard of them like the corrupt save one on the PC if it went over 8 megabytes at least. They have patched that now, thank fuck. But other than that, there's really not much consequences for your actions in this world. For the most of it, it is illusion of choice. I couldn't believe that CD Projekt Red actually implemented this. I wasn't actually aware of it. And yeah, I still laugh just at that moment when it just zooms out.